Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rebecca over at the Lebanon Senior Center, bringing you another Crafternoon. This afternoon, we're getting into fall. You might have guessed that with the colors of our materials, the fall foliage at the end of the table. We are going to be making a banner. We're using scrap paper. You can certainly use this with fabric as well. My mind kept going to fabric because, I like to quilt and I just enjoy that. And it's to me a little bit easier to make as a permanent decoration. Paper, I find I'm really hard on paper products when they're decorations. But this is a fun way to use scrap paper if you're a scrapbooker or a paper crafter, or you just like the material or want a quick and easy fix. Paper is definitely less expensive than fabric, but you can certainly use both. And a lot of the same techniques to do both for fabric or for paper. If you are using fabric, you might end up wanting to sew along the edges of your material to make them more permanent, or to do it as a case. So do a front and back cutout, sew it together, turn our banner pieces, our pennants into double-sided. So there would be a little difference, but you can certainly just use a fabric stabilizer, iron-on Pellon or something Wonder Under or something like that to make your fabric more stiff, and be able to cut it and not have to worry about those edges as well. All right, so all that about the fabric. Let's do what I've actually got in front of me with the paper. So you need, for today's craft, you need a variety of scrapbook papers. You can see we've got a lot of papers here. These are ones I ended up not using, but I selected I'm going to say fabric, paper based on what I felt fall colors might look like. My pennant is going to be for fall. We're starting off September. We're getting ready for the fall season, so I thought it might be fun to do some decorations. Why not? And you are going to need glue. You can certainly use household Elmer's glue or a glue stick. If you've got specialty scrapbook glue or the tape dispensers, those work really great as well. Whatever, you're just not going to want to necessarily see it on the edges. It's just because it'll look neater. Pen or pencil. I've got a pair of scissors and a ruler, and I've got a paper cutter. You don't have to have the paper cutter. It just made my life a little faster. You can certainly do everything with just a ruler, a pencil, and a pencil or pen as well. You need some twine or rope or something in which to hang your banner from. And even that is optional. We'll talk about some different things you can do with that shortly. You may or may not need a hole punch depending on what you choose to do. You can certainly make this your own. And I would suggest using these little 3M command hooks. I find them really useful. And this isn't for making your banner, this is for hanging it afterwards. Fun to use these for seasonal decorations so that you can hang them where you want and then take them down afterwards. We use them a lot around the center. Usually they're pretty safe on the walls. Alrighty, so the first thing we need to do is to make our pennants. And by pennant, I mean these little triangles. Okay, so these are a pennant, and it's traditionally what they're called, but they're pretty much just a triangle. I made my triangles by taking a 12-inch piece of scrapbook paper. So, about like that, 12 inches. I trimmed 1.5 inches off the top. I use the paper cutter for that because it works really fast. You can certainly measure down with a ruler 1.5 inches on two sides, draw a line, and cut straight across with your scissors, however works for you. I then found the center point, which would be 6 inches, FYI, on a 12-inch piece of paper, and marked it at the bottom edge. I then used the ruler, back up here. When you cut it down to 11.5 inches, or when you cut this 1.5 inch off, you'll be able to get to the corner to corner, so from the center point to the outer corner, and to draw your straight line. When it's 12 inches, your regular standard ruler doesn't quite work. So that's why I cut that 1.5 inches off. I also cut it down a little bit because, of course, the wider your pennant is, the bigger and wider your banner is. This is good to know as well because you can see how big in comparison my hand is to my pennants. They're pretty big. If you want to make one of these little cute banners for a smaller space, you can certainly reduce the size of your pennant. Make it narrower, change the dimensions, and make it, a smaller triangle of your choice. So you can certainly personalize this to your space and the size you need. So once you get both lines drawn, so corner to center, you're going to have a triangle appear on your paper. That's when you break out good old scissors and cut it down. Cut both of those edges off, and you will end up with a piece of material, or a piece of paper that looks like a triangle. So for my sign, I did the word welcome. So WELCOME, 7. I needed 7 pennants. Again, if you want a different word, you can adjust the size of your pennants accordingly to the number of letters you want. Or you can always add fun objects into empty spaces. You could put, pumpkins or apples or all kinds of decorations on pennants if you want to add something to the ends. Again, just fun to customize and let your creativity flow with what you would like to do. So once you have your triangles, then you need to decorate them. Or you don't need to. I mean, if you have really creative papers, you could, some of these would just be cute on their own. I chose to decorate them because I wanted to accentuate the letters. To do my lettering, I was not brave enough just to try to hand letter myself. I wanted a little more uniformity. So I used my handy dandy computer, and just in Word, I did some circle shapes and asked it to insert some letters. And so I chose a font, and I chose the letter size font and font color, and had to put it in the center of my circles, actually I guess my ovals. So that's how I did my letters. That's how I came up with those. You could also do this with stamps. You can do it with hand lettering. You can cut things out of magazines or books, all kinds of different things you can do to get what you want on your pennants. So that's how I did mine. I printed these letters off on my printer. Now, for the pennants, I thought they needed, I mean, they were kind of cool, just the letters, but I thought, especially with these plain backgrounds, I wanted to zhuzh it up a little bit, give them some more personality. And heck, we had a lot of scrapbook paper laying around. This is a good, fun way to use it. So I just took accenting material, accenting pieces of scrapbook paper, and cut them down to size. And as you can see, I did some from the top to the bottom. Others, I just did little squares. Generally just tried to vary it up. I liked the look of it being different on different ones. I even used some texture. We had some corrugated paper. Let's see if I can make the camera zoom in. So we got some corrugated paper. So I liked adding the texture as well. I thought that was a lot of fun. Really made it pop, and it added some weight to the paper. Especially if you want to hang this on a door. Sometimes wind can, knock paper around. So doing something with a little bit of weight can help. That's why I suggest a cardstock or a heavier paper for your pennant, just so it's not quite as flimsy. If this is something you're hanging indoors, then you don't have to worry about it as much. So to do the decorative piece, I would just take an accenting piece of fabric. There we go. I'm stuck on fabric. I've got fabric on the brain. Let's see here. I've got to find something that I want to play with. Something ready to go. I meant to leave one of these undone so I could show you. And then I got glue happy and glued it all up. All right, so here's kind of a cool black, ooh, it's got kind of a damask pattern on it. So I could play around with this, and I could decide, well, if I just wanted to do a square like this one, just kind of see what size I like it to be. And I used my paper cutter to trim it off, glue my letter to the center of it, and then I would just glue it onto the pennant. If you really are wanting to make sure they're all straight, you can certainly measure from the corners of your pennant, make sure each side is the same distance down to help center your pennant and make sure it's not crooked or tilted. If you want to do like I do have some of these and take it all the way to the bottom, I actually would flip it over onto the back because I found it easier to work in reverse. I would line, pretend this isn't here. Okay. I centered my point on the paper, and then I would measure side to side with the ruler. Try to give each side about the same distance. Right there. Oh, yeah, it's got to nudge that way just a little bit. And then I would mark it with a pen or pencil. There, and across the top. And I would cut those pieces off, add some glue, flip it over, and line it up so it would match the top and be able to land where the point was in the bottom. So that's how I got the pieces to fit the shape when I did the pieces I wanted to cover almost all of the pennant. Let's see, what else was there on here? And some of them I just did smaller triangles. I would actually just lay the piece of paper that I was accenting with over the bottom, flip it over, and just trace, part of the sides of my triangle, but then I glue it to the top. So I cut it so it was mimic this shape, but I would make it shorter. So that kind of gives this double triangle effect. And there's certainly all kinds of things you can do with your scrap paper, all kinds of different looks and textures. You can layer more, certainly, to really get some small stripes of popping color. You can break out your markers, your glitter. You can go nuts decorating your pennants. You really can. So that is once you get all of your pennants made for the letters you want, or just you don't even have to have letters. You could just have them be decorative, and that would be fine too. Or just use fall shapes like pumpkins and nuts and apples or ghosts or whatever little decor you want to add to your project. I'm going to get a couple of things out of the way here. Now when it comes to hanging, you have some choices. You can certainly just glue your corners together. So I kind of did this over-under technique. So I put one of my pennants on top of two and kind of kept it going like that. That kind of has a nice look to it. Of course I do that, and then I did something and took one out of character. There we go. When you mess around with things and then mess yourself up. There we go. Like that. So kind of this nice fun look to it. You can just put some glue on the top corners behind the material and let it stay like that. You would want to make sure it's in the shape. So if you want to arc, you're going to need to make sure it's in the arc. You can get some brads from the office supply section, which are those little brass, they almost look like buttons, but they got little prongs that stick out the back. You could do a tiny cut or a poke a hole, or use your punch to use a small punch to put a hole in and put some of those brads in there. And then they'll actually swing and have some adjustability to them. You can also do what I'm probably about to do, which is hole punch them. And then you can tie them together with a little bit of string, which would be really cute. You can also, you could even take your pennants. I would probably use my ruler and measure them just a little bit and go ahead and evenly fold over the edges and make a little pocket, and you could run string through. So I've got kind of this really fall string, and you could put them on that. and let them hang on that. You could certainly, there's an endless amount of ways to um, hang these banners up once you get them made. I'm going to stack all these fellows together here. This way I know the holes get kind of the same height and space. There we go. Stack up my triangles. It looks like a giant slice of pie. I'm going to get my hole punch out. It might not want to do this many at one time, but I'm going to encourage it to. All right. So I'm about 1.5 to 2 inches from the corner. I wouldn't recommend doing it too close to the edge because, not going to do it because you risk tearing the paper more easily. All right, well, at least it marked it really good. Figure if it doesn't actually cut through all the layers, I can at least make sure there's a nice indent. That way, when I do it individually, I'll be able to tell. Aha! Success. And after you get the first ones done, then they can be used as a template for your others. Again, I might have just picked up more than I can chew. All right, last but not least, our E over here. Okay, the star of the show, but all right, I'm going to slide over our little punch outs out of the way. Okay, so then we're going to take a little bit of our string. I'm going to put it through the hole. Coming up through the bottom of one, up through the bottom of the other. And I'm not going to tie them really tight. Again, I want to be careful. I don't want them to saw into each other and damage. Also leaving a little space with the string and not tying them too tight will let them swing a little bit and take on the shape of wherever we hang them at. So if it's across the mantle, or if it's a doorway, or if it's along a desk surface. Every once in a while, you are going to lose a string, and you are going to have to chase it down. Just know that's part of the fun process. It's working your fine motor skills, tying some strings together. Alrighty. I almost had to remember how to spell my word. So you get a spelling test, you work your fine motor skills, you get to exercise some creativity. All in one Crafternoon. I tell you what, we're just multitasking like crazy, aren't we, today? The moment the string wanted to do its own thing. Alrighty, we're getting down here. Okay, so as we're finishing up this portion, I did want to let you know that, and you can certainly do this with this technique or even easier with some of these other techniques I talked about as far as how to mount your pennants, but you can certainly add other embellishments as well. You might be wondering why I have the leaves and other things on the table, and that would be why, because you can certainly really play this up and add some more color, add some more texture, some more interest by using other items you might have around your house to decorate your project. All right. Oh, I guess before I forget, I am going to add two kind of extra long pieces to our pennant here. And I'm just going to finish them off with a little knot, a little double action here. So that they have something to hang from. I'm going to do that by putting the string through. I take both sides of the string together. I don't know if you can see me doing this. I'm going to loop it over my finger a little bit and put both ends of the string through that loop. It's hard to do in slow motion. And then I pull. So then you get both strings through the knot so it can hang. There you go. So that in itself is our banner that we can hang up. To add decorations, again, we've got stickers. We have this book full of fun little nature motifs. Here's some with leaves and things. You could certainly cut some of these out and add them to the banner. You can go down to Dollar Tree and get, some leaves, and you can add those in. Maybe. Who wants to cooperate? To your design as well. You can even tie these on in some regard to some of the spaces. Like this would work really well at the end here. I left two attached together. So I'm just carefully weaving it in and it would catch the loop there. This is a fun one because it's even got little nuts and things on it, which are kind of fun. But you can just add them wherever you feel like. And you would also have things like these flowers. Again, these can be fun to use. I might chop one off. And since they're bendable, they can tuck really well into those holes that you made. I like this one down here too. So I'm not gluing or taping or doing anything like that to these. Just kind of putting them, since the wire bends, just sticking the wire through the hole and then bending the wire back. So you can finish it off with all these kind of fun things that you can find really inexpensively at the dollar store, or other inexpensive craft stores have fake foliage that you can use. You can certainly use real foliage to accentuate your project as well. That would be a beautiful thing to do. Or, I had been thinking about this, and I didn't even mention it. Instead of hanging your project on twine, you could hang each, you get a nice stick or branch or something. You could hang your pennant. Each individual piece could be hung up on a branch, and then you could hang the branch up. I think that would be really cool, really accentuate the Northwest as well. And another thing you can add, if you really like the look of a burlap or a little more rustic look, we do have burlap here on the table as well. So we could adhere our pennant to a piece of burlap and just make it a burlap backed banner and have these pieces either glued or, get some nice, staples wouldn't look too nice. But the holes in the burlap are pretty big. You can use your scissors to make them a little bit bigger, and you can tie your pennants onto a strip of burlap. That would also look really cute, especially if you pick some of these darker colors. I don't know if you can see that one from down there, but it would be kind of cute. So that is our banner for the day. You can certainly have a lot of fun making it your own. Hopefully, it's inspired you to dress up your home or your office or wherever you're spending time at this point, and get creative out there. Show some love. If you do a project like this, we'd love to see it. You can certainly share it on our Facebook page or the YouTube channel right after this video in the comments. We would love to see it since we can't see you. Stay busy, stay healthy. We'll see you later from the Lebanon Senior Center.